Mom, we need to talk about selling your house. Those 8 words from my son Michael's mouth felt like a slap across my 68-year-old face. I'm Claire Martinez, and I'm about to tell you how my own daughter-in-law tried to steal everything I'd worked for my entire life, and how I made sure she paid for every single lie. I'm so glad you're here. If you're watching this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and tell me in the comments where you're listening to my story from. I want to know how far it's traveled. It was a Tuesday morning in September when my world came crashing down. I was making my famous tres leches cake for my grandson Tommy's birthday when Michael walked into my kitchen with that woman, Sarah, my daughter-in-law of 12 years. She had this smug smile that I now realize was a smile of someone who thought she'd already won. "The maintenance costs are too much for you, Mom," Michael continued, not even looking me in the eye. Sarah found a nice assisted living facility. It has bingo and everything. I stood there, flour on my hands, staring at the son I'd raised alone after his father died, the boy I'd worked 3 jobs to put through college. This house, the same house where he'd taken his first steps, where I'd nursed him through chicken pox, where I'd celebrated every achievement, suddenly wasn't good enough for his precious wife. But here's what they didn't know. This wasn't just about a house. It was about a $2.8 million property in prime Los Angeles real estate, fully paid off, with a secret that would make Sarah's manipulative heart stop beating. And I was about to discover just how far she was willing to go to get her greedy hands on it. The worst part? I actually trusted her. For 12 years, I'd love her like my own daughter. But as I watched her exchange that knowing glance with my son, I realized I'd been living with a snake who'd been planning to strike all along. Let me paint you a picture of who I really am. My name is Claire Martinez, and I didn't get this beautiful 4-bedroom Spanish colonial house by accident. After my husband Roberto died in a construction accident when Michael was only 8, I built a successful catering business from scratch. 15-hour days, burns on my arms from commercial ovens, and sleeping 4 hours a night became my reality. Every penny I earned went toward this house and Michael's future. The mortgage payments were $3,200 a month for 23 years. I remember eating rice and beans for dinner while Michael got fresh fruit and meat. I remember wearing the same 3 dresses to every parent-teacher conference while making sure he had new school clothes every semester. Sarah came into our lives when Michael was 26, fresh out of law school. She was beautiful, blonde, tall, with these piercing blue eyes that could convince anyone of anything. She worked at a high-end marketing firm and drove a BMW that cost more than I made in 6 months. But she was sweet to me, or so I thought. "Mrs. Martinez, your arroz con pollo is better than my mother's," she'd say, helping me clear dishes after family dinners. "You should write a cookbook." She'd bring expensive wine to our gatherings, always complimented my decorating, and even helped me set up my first computer to manage my catering business online. When they got married, I spent $18,000 on their wedding reception, money I'd saved for my own retirement. Sarah cried when she opened my gift, the pearl earrings my mother had given me, the only valuable thing I own besides this house. "I'll treasure these forever," she whispered, hugging me tight. But looking back now, I can see the signs I missed. How she walked through my house, touching walls and furniture with a calculating look. How she'd bring up property values in casual conversation. "Wow, Clara, do you know houses in this neighborhood are selling for over $2 million now?" How she'd suggest I was getting older and might need help more and more frequently. The most telling sign? She never invited me to their new condo. In 12 years of marriage, I'd never been inside their home. "It's so small," she'd always say. "You're much more comfortable here, and we love visiting you." Now I understand why. She was already planning to make my house hers. After that shocking conversation about selling my house, something shifted inside me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about little inconsistencies I'd noticed but dismissed. So I did what any smart woman would do. I started paying attention. The first thing I noticed was how Sarah had started helping me with my finances. "Clara, you're so busy with catering orders. Let me organize your bills," she'd offered 6 months earlier. I'd been grateful, My arthritis made writing checks painful sometimes. But now I wondered why she needed copies of everything. I started going through my own paperwork more carefully. In my filing cabinet, I found copies of documents I didn't remember making. Property tax assessments, insurance papers, even a copy of my will that my lawyer had sent only to me. How did Sarah get these? Then I checked my computer. I'm not tech savvy, but my neighbor's grandson taught me how to look at browsing history. Sarah had been researching real estate prices, assisted living facilities, and something that made my blood run cold, getting power of attorney for elderly parents. I decided to test my suspicion. The next Sunday dinner, I casually mentioned that I was thinking of updating my will. Sarah's fork stopped midway to her mouth. "Oh, Clara, you don't need to worry about that for years," she said, but her voice was too bright, too quick. "Actually," I continued, "my lawyer says I should consider what happens to the house. Maybe I should leave it to the church, or sell it and donate the money." Michael nearly choked on his wine. Sarah's face went white. "Mom, you can't be serious," Michael said. "This house should stay in the family." "Should it?" I asked innocently. I never had anyone to leave it to who really appreciated what it took to earn it. The silence at that table was deafening. Later, I heard them whispering urgently in the kitchen, but they stopped talking the moment I walked in. That's when I made a decision that would change everything. I called my old friend Maria, whose daughter works at a private investigation firm. "Maria, I need some advice about protecting myself financially," I said. What I really needed was to know exactly what Sarah and Michael were planning. "And you, what would you do in this person's place? I would love to hear your opinion. So please share it with me in the comments." Within a week, I had the phone number for a private investigator named James Rodriguez. When I called him and explained my situation, he said something that chilled me. "Mrs. Martinez, what you're describing sounds like elder financial abuse. It's more common than you think." 3 weeks later, James Rodriguez sat in my living room with a manila folder that would shatter my world completely. What he discovered wasn't just betrayal. It was a calculated, long-term scheme that made me question everything I thought I knew about my own son. "Mrs. Martinez, I have to ask you something important," James said, his voice gentle but serious. "Did you ever sign papers giving Sarah power of attorney?" "Absolutely not," I replied firmly. "I would never do that without consulting my lawyer first." He opened the folder and handed me a document. There was my signature on a power of attorney form, dated 8 months ago. But I had never signed this paper in my life. "This is a forgery," I whispered, my hand shaking as I held the document. "That's what I thought." James nodded. "But it gets worse. Using this forged document, Sarah has been in contact with 3 different real estate agents about selling your house. She's also inquired about having you declared mentally incompetent." My heart stopped. "What?" "Here's a recording I obtained legally," he said, pressing play on a small device. Sarah's voice filled my living room. "The old woman is getting confused about money. She repeats herself constantly. I think she's developing dementia, and my husband is too emotional to see it. We need to act quickly before she makes any crazy financial decisions." I felt like I was drowning. This was my daughter-in-law, talking about me to strangers, painting me as a confused elderly woman who couldn't take care of herself. But James wasn't finished. "Mrs. Martinez, there's more. I have evidence that they've already selected an assisted living facility and put down a $5,000 deposit. The monthly cost is $8,200, which will require selling this house to afford." He showed me receipts, emails, and even photos that Sarah had sent to the facility director, pictures of my house, my belongings, and worst of all, pictures of me taken without my knowledge, with notes like "subject shows signs of confusion and disorientation." The final blow came when he played another recording. "Once we get her into the facility and sell the house, we'll have enough to buy that Beverly Hills property we looked at. Michael's inheritance will set us up for life, and honestly, she'll probably be happier with people her own age." I sat there, listening to my son's wife talk about me like I was already dead, planning to spend money I'd earned with my own sweat and tears. But the worst part was hearing Michael's voice in the background. "You're right, Sarah. Mom will understand eventually. She's always been dramatic." "Dramatic?" I'd sacrificed everything for this ungrateful boy, and now he thought protecting my own home was dramatic? That's when something inside me snapped. The grieving mother was gone. The trusting woman who'd loved Sarah like her own daughter disappeared. What remained was a warrior who'd built a business from nothing, who'd survived poverty and loss, and who wasn't about to let anyone steal her life's work. "James," I said, my voice steady and cold, "I want you to find out everything. Every lie, every document, every conversation. And then I want you to help me destroy them." The next 2 weeks were the most calculating of my life. While Sarah continued her sweet act, bringing me groceries and helping with confusing paperwork, I was building a case that would expose her completely. But I needed more than evidence. I needed the perfect moment to strike. James had uncovered even more disturbing details. Sarah had convinced Michael to take out a $150,000 life insurance policy on me just 6 months earlier. She'd also researched the fastest ways to have someone declared incompetent and had even consulted with a lawyer about challenging my mental capacity. But here's what Sarah didn't know. I wasn't just some naive old lady. I'd run a successful business for 30 years. I knew how to read people, how to plan strategies, and most importantly, how to wait for the perfect moment to act. My plan was beautifully simple. Sarah's biggest weakness was her ego and her need to show off. She'd been bragging to her friends about the beautiful house she'd soon inherit, even showing them photos and promising dinner parties in her Spanish colonial home. I decided to use her own vanity against her. I told her I was planning a big family celebration for my birthday next month, my 69th birthday party. "I want to invite all our friends and neighbors," I said. "This might be my last big party in this house." Sarah's eyes lit up with greedy excitement. She thought I was getting ready to announce my move to assisted living. "Oh, Clara, what a wonderful idea. I'll help you plan everything. We should invite everyone, the whole neighborhood, your catering clients, all the family." Perfect. She was going to help me gather the exact audience I needed for her public downfall. Meanwhile, I was building my legal fortress. I met with my attorney, Roberto Valdez, who'd handled my business contract for years. When I showed him the forged power of attorney document, he was furious. "Clara, this is fraud. We need to involve the police immediately," he said. "Not yet," I replied. "I want to catch them in the act. Can you help me set up legal protections?" Within days, Roberto had filed papers revoking any power of attorney I'd supposedly given, even though I'd never given one, updated my will with ironclad language, and set up a trust that made it impossible for anyone to challenge my mental capacity without a court battle they couldn't win. But my masterstroke was this. I had James install hidden cameras in my own house. Every conversation Sarah had with Michael in my kitchen, every phone call she made while helping me with paperwork, every sneer and eye roll when she thought I wasn't looking, it was all being recorded legally on my own property. The final piece of my plan was the most satisfying. I was going to make Sarah confess everything in front of everyone who mattered to us both. But first, I needed to make her feel completely safe, completely victorious. So I started acting exactly like the confused old woman she'd been describing to everyone. The night of my 69th birthday party, my house was filled with 63 people who'd been part of my life for decades. Neighbors, former catering clients, extended family, Michael's law firm colleagues, and Sarah's marketing agency friends. Everyone who knew us was there. I'd spent the week playing the part of a declining elderly woman perfectly. I forgot conversations, asked the same questions twice, and even pretended to be confused about simple things. Sarah was practically glowing with satisfaction, whispering to people about how concerned she was about my condition. At 8 p.m., I stood up to make my birthday speech. Sarah squeezed my hand supportively, probably thinking I was about to announce my move to assisted living. "Thank you all for coming tonight." I began, my voice strong and clear. "Many of you have known me for 20, 30, even 40 years. You've watched me build my catering business, raise my son alone, and turn this house into a home through sheer determination and hard work." The room was quiet, everyone smiling at what they thought was a sentimental birthday speech. Some of you may have heard rumors lately that I'm becoming forgetful, that I'm no longer capable of managing my own affairs. I paused, letting that sink in. Sarah's smile faltered slightly. Well, I want to address those rumors directly. I reached into my purse and pulled out a thick folder, because it turns out I remember everything perfectly, including how my daughter-in-law has been planning to steal my house. The room went dead silent. Sarah's face drained of all color. I remember signing a power of attorney. Sarah? Oh, wait, I never signed one. But somehow, you managed to create one with my forged signature. I held up the document. I remember you researching real estate agents to sell my house. I remember you putting deposits down on assisted living facilities. I remember you taking out life insurance policies on me. Sarah tried to stand up. Clara, you're confused. Sit down, I commanded, and something in my voice made her freeze. I'm not finished. I walked over to my television and turned on the DVD player. James had compiled everything into a devastating presentation. Sarah's voice filled the room. The old woman is getting confused about money. People gasped. Michael buried his face in his hands. Sarah's friend stared at her in horror, as her own words condemned her completely. But I wasn't done yet. Let me tell you what's really confused, I continued. What's confused is thinking you could manipulate a woman who built a business from nothing. What's confused is believing you could outsmart someone who negotiated contracts and managed finances for 30 years. What's confused is assuming that because I'm 68 years old, I'm an easy target. I turned to face Sarah directly. You want this house so badly? Let me tell you what it's really worth. It's worth every callus on my hands, from scrubbing floors to pay the mortgage. It's worth every night I went to bed hungry so Michael could have dinner. It's worth every sacrifice I made that you'll never understand because you've never worked for anything in your entitled life. Sarah finally found her voice, but it came out as a whisper. We were just trying to help. Help. I laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. Help like forging legal documents? Help like lying to real estate agents? Help like planning to have me declared mentally incompetent? I played another recording, the one where she talked about buying the Beverly Hills property with Michael's inheritance. The room erupted. Neighbors who'd known me for decades were standing up, shouting at Sarah. My former catering clients, successful business owners themselves, were disgusted. Even Michael's law colleagues were shaking their heads in disbelief. The aftermath was swift and brutal. By the next morning, Sarah's marketing agency had received calls from 3 different people who'd witnessed her confession. Her boss called an emergency meeting, and she was terminated immediately for character issues that reflect poorly on the company. Michael tried to salvage the situation, showing up at my door with flowers and tears. Mom, I never wanted to go this far. Sarah convinced me you were getting sick, that we needed to protect you. Protect me? I stood in my doorway, looking at the sun I'd raised, and felt nothing but disappointment. Michael, I taught you right from wrong. I worked 3 jobs to put you through law school. I sacrificed everything so you could have opportunities one never had. And this is how you protect me. He broke down crying. I know, Mom. I know I screwed up. Sarah said, she made it sound like you wanted us to take over your finances. She said you were scared of making mistakes. So you forged my signature? You researched having me declared incompetent? You took out life insurance policies on me. Each question was like a slap. Michael, you're a lawyer. You know this is fraud. I never signed anything, he protested. The power of attorney, the life insurance, that was all Sarah. I just went along with it because I trusted her. You trusted her more than your own mother. That stopped him cold, because it was true and we both knew it. Sarah, meanwhile, was facing serious legal consequences. Roberto had filed fraud charges, and the district attorney was very interested in what appeared to be an elaborate elder abuse scheme. The forged power of attorney alone was a felony, but the social consequences were even more devastating for someone like Sarah, who'd built her identity around appearances and status. Within days, everyone in our social circle knew exactly what she tried to do. Her gym friends stopped talking to her. The other wives at Michael's law firm excluded her from events. Even her own family was horrified when they learned the details. 3 weeks after my birthday party, Sarah showed up at my door one final time. She looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, her usually perfect hair unwashed, wearing sweatpants instead of her designer clothes. "Clara, please," she begged. "I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But I never meant for it to go this far. I love this family. I love you. I looked at this woman who'd lived in my house countless times, who'd eaten my food, who'd hugged my grandchildren, who'd accepted my mother's pearls with fake tears. Sarah, you don't love anyone except yourself. You saw an opportunity to get something valuable, and you took it. The only thing you're sorry about is getting caught." "That's not true," she insisted. "I was scared about money, about the future. Michael's law practice is struggling, and I thought if we had this house." "You thought you could steal from the woman who treated you like a daughter." I stepped closer to her. "You know what the saddest part is? If you'd just been honest with me, if you'd come to me and said you were struggling financially, I would have helped you. That's who I am. That's who I've always been. But instead, you chose to lie, manipulate, and commit fraud." She stood there crying, but I felt nothing. The woman who'd loved her was gone. The divorce papers will be served tomorrow. I told her. Michael finally grew a spine and filed them. "You have 30 days to be out of his condo. And Sarah? Don't ever contact me or my family again." 6 months later, I'm sitting in my beautiful kitchen, making tres leches cake for my grandson Tommy's birthday. The same cake I was making the day this nightmare began. But everything is different now. Michael has been coming to family dinners alone, slowly rebuilding our relationship. It's not the same. It may never be the same, but we're working on it. He's in therapy, trying to understand how he let Sarah manipulate him so completely. He's also working with the prosecutor's office to ensure Sarah faces consequences for her crimes. "Mom, I keep thinking about all the signs I ignored," he said last week. "How she always pushed me to ask you for money. How she got angry when you spent money on yourself instead of us. How she talked about your house like it was already hers. Son, we all see what we want to see sometimes." I replied, "But now you know who Sarah really is. And more importantly, now you know who you want to be." Sarah pled guilty to fraud and elder abuse charges rather than face a trial. She received 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and has to pay restitution of $23,000, the amount she'd spent researching assisted living facilities and making deposits with my forged power of attorney. She's also forbidden from contacting me or coming within 500 feet of my property. The real victory, though, isn't Sarah's punishment. It's what I discovered about myself. For months, I've been allowing Sarah to make me feel old, confused, and burdensome. I'd started to believe that maybe I was becoming a problem that needed to be managed, but fighting back reminded me who Claire Martinez really is. I'm the woman who built a catering business from scratch after my husband died. I'm the woman who paid off a $480,000 mortgage through sheer determination. I'm the woman who raised a successful son as a single mother. I'm the woman who turned a house into a home through decades of love and hard work. And I'm the woman who outmaneuvered a manipulative fraud who thought she could steal my life's work. My house is worth $2.8 million now. I've updated my will to leave it to a scholarship fund for single mothers trying to start businesses. Michael will inherit my other assets, but this house will help women who remind me of myself at 28, scared, determined, and willing to work for everything they get. I've also started a support group for older adults who've experienced financial abuse from family members. It's more common than people realize, and I want other victims to know they're not alone and they're not powerless. The best part of my new life? I wake up every morning in my own bed, in my own house, surrounded by memories I earned and treasures I chose. I make decisions about my own money, my own future, and my own happiness. At 69 years old, I'm more independent and confident than I've ever been. To anyone listening who might be facing something similar, don't let anyone convince you that age makes you vulnerable. Don't let anyone tell you that needing help means giving up control. And most importantly, don't let anyone steal what you've worked your whole life to build. Trust your instincts. Document everything. Get professional help. And remember that wisdom and experience are powerful weapons against people who mistake kindness for weakness. Sarah thought she was dealing with a confused old lady. She learned she was dealing with a warrior who'd spent 70 years getting stronger. If you like my story, you can support me by making a donation so I can write more stories. Thank you in advance. For more life stories like this, like the video and subscribe to my channel. There are many other stories waiting for you. Because here's what I want every person watching this to understand. Your life's work matters. Your sacrifices matter. Your dignity matters. And no one, not family, not friends, not anyone, has the right to take those things from you. My name is Clara Martinez, and I'm the mother-in-law who discovered the truth and fought back. This is my house, my story, and my victory. Justice Jane, where truth prevails and the good guys win.